Bad advice. 1 Kings chapter 12. We're going to just walk through the verses this morning, the first 19 verses. I'm not going to read them for time's sake. But you know how we do it around here. I'm going to pray, and then we're going to walk through these verses and just look at Rehoboam and Jeroboam and some advice and what happened with it. God, thank you for another opportunity to study your word this morning. It has been a rich service thus far. Amazing job of the choir in leading us in worship, the Lord's Supper, to listen to this body of believers, this faith family, uniting our voices together and saying it is sweet to trust in you. God, we pray over the next few moments as we turn our attentions to your word. The words that I speak not be mine, they be yours. As we hide me behind the cross this morning, may we see Christ lifted up in our time together. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Well, united as the Beatles were, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, they became the most influential rock band in their era. In Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell tells us that this group played 40 hours a week for 5 years in the streets of Germany before they ever hit their #1 song. They were so tight, so united together, that in 6 years they accomplished what no other band has ever accomplished. 20 #1 songs in 6 years. But after those 6 years of conquering the world of rock and roll, the band was torn apart. Paul McCartney struggled with LSD. George Harrison sought meaning in life with meditation and transcendence. Ringo Starr went from one mood swing to another, and John Lennon became obsessed over Yoko Ono. Despite pleas from fans all over the world to get back together, the band never got back together. Even the two surviving members, Paul and Ringo, still struggle and somewhat refuse to share a stage together. But didn't they know how to sing it? Feel free to sing along. We can work it out. Life is very short, and there's no time for fussing and fighting. My friend, I've always thought that it's a crime. So I'll ask you once again, try to see it my way. Only time will tell if I'm right or I'm wrong while you see it your way. There's a chance that we may fall apart before too long. We can work it out. We can work it out. But they never could. And as George, John, Ringo, and Paul found their own destinies, they became like stars that had fallen. The greatest band was torn apart. You know, relational unity is a gift given to this body and Christians by God, but it requires a lot of work to maintain. Unity is powerful. We've seen it throughout the scriptures, in King David and King Solomon. But here's the thing, unity is fragile. We've seen the effect of that in the lives of others. And nothing will destroy unity quicker than making bad decisions following bad advice. So we come to 1 Kings chapter 12. 1 Kings chapter 12 is on the heels of 1 Kings chapter 11 with Solomon dying. Solomon was the king of the nation of Israel. His father was David, who established in the line there by the Lord. So you had David, then his son Solomon, then Solomon passed away, and then his son Rehoboam became king of the nation of Israel. But here's what I want us to do this morning. I want us to walk through these verses together, and I want us to see what happens when we surround ourselves with people who give us bad advice and we follow them. 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 1. Here we go. Then Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all of Israel had come to Shechem to make him king. You'll notice in the very chapter right above that, Solomon dies. So now Rehoboam is becoming king of the nation of Israel. Now when Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, heard of it, he was living in Egypt, for he was yet in Egypt, where he had fled from the presence of King Solomon. Then they sent and called him, and Jeroboam and all the assembly of Israel came and spoke to Rehoboam. So Solomon was the king of the nation of Israel, and under his kingship there was some oppression that took place. Solomon had a desire to build things of extravagant nature, and so he taxed the people in order for their money to pay for the things, and then he used their labor in building the things that Solomon wanted. And so Jeroboam had gone away and fled under the oppression of King Solomon there, and in his fleeing from there, he finds out that Solomon is dead, and he hears that Rehoboam is king. And so he comes back to town and brings the people into the presence of the newly, freshly minted king Rehoboam. And here's what he asks, verse 4. He says, "Your father made our yoke hard. Now therefore, lighten the hard service of your father and his heavy yoke which was on us, and we will serve you." So there's two things that these people begin to ask. He says, listen, the yoke that Solomon has put on us has become oppressive in nature. It's become very difficult for us to live in the nation there. It's become hard. And he says to them, will you lighten the load that your father had placed on us as you become this new king? And if you do that, then we will serve you. And so there's this plea here from Jeroboam on behalf of the people to Rehoboam in this meeting. It says, listen, it's hard out there. You're now in charge. You're now the leader. And we're asking you to take away the load and take away the struggles of us out here. So Rehoboam listens to the words and the request of Jeroboam. And here's what he says, verse 5. Then he said to them, "Depart for 3 days, and then return to me." So the people left. Now let's see what Jeroboam does. Verse 6. King Rehoboam consulted with, and follow along here, 2 groups of people. The first group of people that he consults with are the elders. Notice how the Bible describes them. The elders who had served his father Solomon while he was still alive, and said, "How do you counsel me to answer the people?" So the first group of people that he brings in are the elders, the older people here who knew his father, who had served with his father, who had experience in the world of leading that Rehoboam didn't have. And he looks at him and says, "What do you guys think I should do?" And I just want you to notice a couple of things. The first group of people that he mentions, that he brings about, are the elders in their experience. They had been in the leadership position. They had been in the place that Rehoboam had now found himself in. But they had also watched Solomon, his dad. Remember who Solomon was? Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived. He wrote Proverbs. He wrote a number of other passages. So they had sat in the presence of the smartest man in the world who had ever lived or has lived. And they look at him and he says, "What do you guys think I should do?" And here's the advice. Verse 7. They spoke to him, saying, and notice the if-then in verse 7. "If you will be a servant to this people today, and will serve them, and grant them their petition, and speak good words to them, then they will be your servants forever." So the three-pronged approach that these guys the smart men look at him and say, listen, here's what you need to do. You need to be a servant. So you're the newly appointed king. You're the one in charge now. You're the leader of the nation of Israel. Here's what you need to do. If you're going to gain favor with the people out there, you need to be a servant to these people. And in your being a servant to them, he says you need to serve them and to grant them their petition and do the things that they ask. This is pretty good wise counsel. If you think about it, he's looking at him and saying, listen, if you're going to be a great king for the nation of Israel, then what you need to do is you need to be a servant. You need to serve them and do the things that they desire, that they request. But then notice what's on the tail end of verse 7. He says this, "If you do these things and speak good words to them, then they will be your servants forever." See, the advice that he's receiving at this point is saying, listen, Don't look at where we are now. Look further down the road. Look further down here in just the immediate nature that we are, and look further in the lives of the nation of Israel. It says, listen, be their servant, serve them, and speak good words to them. Well, Rehoboam was probably just a spoiled brat, if you will. And so he doesn't like the advice that he gets. He listens to it and says, man, I don't want to serve these people. I don't want to be a servant to this group of people who's in here complaining and wanting the sanctions to be lifted and other things to be ignored. And he says, I don't want to be a servant. So what does he do? He breathed. Verse 8. But he forsook the counsel of the elders, which he had given them, and he turned to the second group of people. He consulted with the young men who grew up with him and served him. You can write in your Bible, there's a Hebrew word for this. He went and got his buddies, right? I mean, he brought in his buddies, the guys he played paper football with in study hall, the guys that he played t-ball with, the guys that was on his high school basketball team, the guys that he ran around with, who he duck hunted with, who he was in band with, who he studied with, who he went to college with. He brought in all of his buddies and his friends, and he says, listen, what do you guys think I should do? The people who had been here before, the older guys, they tell me that I need to be a servant and to serve these people. What do you guys think I should do? So here's what he says. Verse 9, what counsel do you give, that we may answer the people who spoke to me, saying, lighten the load, lighten the yoke which your father put on us? Then the young men who grew up with him and spoke to him and said, thus you shall say to this people who spoke to you, saying, your father made our yoke heavy, now you make it lighter to us. But here's what you should say to them. My little finger is thicker than my father's thighs. Wow. The arrogancy that begins to protrude here in this conversation. He says, you guys want it lighter? You want to lighter the load? No, here's what you need to do. My father, my pinky and where I am, my pinky is bigger than my father's thigh. I'm reading this and I'm thinking, what an incredible level of disrespect, not for the people, but for his father. His father's in his leadership position. So you think my dad was good? You think my dad did all this thing? You wait and see how I'm going to do it. Then notice what happens. He says, whereas my father loaded you down with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father disciplined you with whips. I'm going to discipline you with scorpions. I'm reading this and I'm thinking, man, what incredibly horrible, bad advice. Did you notice the difference? Did you notice the difference? In the first group of people, the men say to Rehoboam, you need to be a servant. The second group of people say to him, no, you need to be an authority. Now stay with me. He's giving this advice and he says, listen, these guys say, serve the people, be a servant, be kind to them, speak kind things to them, and serve the people. This group of people, his buddy says, no. Don't be a servant, be an authority. Don't submit to them. You come in and say, oh, you think my dad had this? Well, this is what I'm going to do. My dad ruled you with whips. I'm going to rule you with scorpions. And he escalates it. And the difference between the two advice becomes obvious. This group says, serve the people. This group says, no, be an authority over the people. Keep going. Verse 11. Verse 12. Then Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam on the third day, as the king had directed, saying, return to me on the third day. The king answered the people harshly, for he forsook the advice of the elders, which they had given him. And he spoke to him according to the advice of the younger men, saying, my father made your yoke heavy, but I will add to your yoke. My father disciplined you with whips, but I will discipline you with scorpions. So the king did not listen to the people, for it was a turn of events from the Lord that he might establish the word which he had spoken through Ahijah the Shilonite and Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Listen, when all of Israel saw that the king did not listen to them, the people answered the king and said, what portion do we have in David? We have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now look after your own house, David. So Israel departed to their tents. But as for the sons of Israel, who lived in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the forced labor, and all of Israel stoned him to death. And King Rehoboam made haste to mount his chariot to flee to Jerusalem. So Israel has been in rebellion against the house of David to this day. Now here, stay with me, stay with me. Realize what's just happened. The nation of Israel is unified under King David and King Solomon. Then King Rehoboam comes to town, and under King Rehoboam's advice, 4 days into his leadership, the nation of Israel from this moment on is divided. 10 tribes go one way, 2 tribes go the other. And from this moment on, the nation of Israel is at war with each other and at odds with one another. The nation of Israel, in its unity, is literally ripped apart and separated. Hatred begins to develop between this group and this group, all because some guy named Rehoboam listened to some bad advice in his life. And you step back from this and you begin to realize, listen, the advice that you get in your life and I get in my life in decisions that we make greatly influence not just where we are now, but will affect the rest of our lives. Rehoboam decided, I'm going to listen to the elders or I'm going to listen to the young guys. And the advice that he took was from the older, not from the older guys, but from the younger guys. And as a result of that, the nation was ripped apart. So what in the world does this have to do with me? Everything. See, you're going to face decisions in your life. Listen. Some of you are going to college. And you're making decisions right now. What class you're going to take. What degrees you're going to pursue. What job you're going to look at. And here's the thing. You're listening to other people who are your age. You're listening to your buddies, you're listening to this person, you're listening to that. You're reading this article, reading this magazine, reading this blog, watching this television show, and you have all of this advice that's coming to you in your life right now. And in your pursuit of the decisions that you make, the advice that you're receiving in the stage in your life in right now is all of your peers, and you haven't sought the advice of those who've been ahead of you. Now you're like, man, you're just trying to be my dad. Maybe I'll be your dad for just a little bit. But here's the thing. When you make a decision in your life, the decision that you make needs to be sought out with wise counsel. And the wise counsel that you seek out will greatly impact and influence the decision that you make. Some of you right now are facing a job decision. I know for a fact, some of you are trying to decide, do I do this or I do that? You're trying to figure out about a career decision. You're trying to figure out, do I sell my house? Do I not sell my house? Do I move? Do I not move? What do I do with my kids? Where do I send them to school? What do I need to do when I'm 10 years old, 10 to 15 years from now? Where do I need to be here? Where do I need to be there? Some of you are facing some incredibly huge decisions in your life right now. And you're wrestling with that. And in that decision-making process, you have surrounded yourself with people who are going to give you counsel and advice. And the people, listen, the people you surround yourself with in your decision-making will determine and impact the decision that you make. Rehoboam surrounded himself with all of his buddies, surrounded himself with some ego-driven authoritarian people who impacted his decision. He made the decision that as a result split the nation of Israel. In fact, if you finish out 1 Kings chapter 12, it not only affected the nation of Israel in their division, it impacted the nation of Israel in their worship. It impacted their relationship with God, and it impacted their relationship with others. And so you're here this morning and you are facing a difficult decision. You're trying to decide, where do I go to college? Do I change a job? Do I move my family? Do I marry this person or do I not marry this person? What do I do in my retirement? What do I do with my next 20 years of my life? And you're facing this difficult decision. And you're seeking advice. And I'm standing before you this morning as your friend, as your pastor, and saying, who you surround yourself with will determine what decision you make. It will. I've seen it all too often. People are faced with an incredibly difficult decision. I've sat in counsel with people and talked with people who are trying to decide, do I remain married or not remain married? And they surround themselves with people, and the people that they listen to will determine what decision they make. Rehoboam decided to listen to the unwise, ungodly counsel of this group of men, and it greatly influenced his decision. So I listened to read this passage of Scripture. And may I just give you two things as a reflective nature of this passage of Scripture. I just say this, and I know that I'm young and 38 years old. Some of you have grandkids my age. I get that. I know. But I just want to say this from my heart to just you as your friend, as your pastor. The first thing is this. Who you listen to will determine what you do. Hey, moms and dads, the music that your kids listen to on their iPad or at their house, on their earphones, will determine what they do. Hey, mom and dad, the television shows that you let your children watch will determine how they speak to you. They will determine how they treat other people. They will determine how they view themselves. The movies that you let your kids watch, the books that you let your kids read, the people that you let your children surround themselves with will impact them. And it's an important responsibility as moms and dads, as men and women, that we make sure that our children are surrounding themselves with wise, godly counsel. A Sunday school teacher who teaches in the preschool area and the park and the youth, you may be the only godly counsel that those children hear every single week. Be an influence to them in their life. Don't just color a sheet of paper, hurry through a lesson, or play a game upstairs. But you are the wise counsel to them in their life. Because I guarantee you, what they're hearing here in this church is vastly different than what they're hearing out there in the world. And so you have an opportunity to look at them and say, God has called you to live a life of purity. God has called you to live a life that honors and glorifies the Lord. God has called you to live a life that is completely compelling and glorifying to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. You are that surrounding person around those children in our church, and they're listening to you, and they're listening to the counsel you give, the advice you give, the lessons you teach, the Bible studies you teach, and the investment that you make in their life. And if those times just become some flippant hurry through so we can get through the next thing, then you're missing out on a valuable opportunity to pour into the lives of these children. Listen, don't be Rehoboam's buddies. Be the men who spoke into Rehoboam's life and provided that wise counsel to them. Be a person who directs them to make decisions that honor and glorify the Lord. It's valuably important. Don't rush through Sunday school. Don't rush through Wednesday nights. Don't brush past our students and children in the church, but pour your lives into them. To the children and the youth within the church, listen to them. Pay attention to them. When they teach your Sunday school class and give you counsel and advice, listen to them. Rehoboam teaches us the people you surround yourself will impact the decisions you make. I mean, what does Proverbs say in this passage here? Proverbs 13:20. He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Mom and Dad, next year I'll have a second grader, a third grader, a fourth grader, and a fifth grader. There's not a day goes by that I don't look at myself in the mirror and go, I don't have a clue what I'm doing as a parent. But I do know this. The people my children hang around will determine who they are and where they go in the next 10 to 15 years. The music that they listen to, the video games that they play, the teaching that they have, the friends that they spend time with. The Bible says, if you want to be wise, my 4 kids, listen. If you want to be wise, walk with wise people. And if you want to be a fool, then be a companion of fools. Rehoboam is an example of that, where he said, listen to this group and not that group. Did you see something else in this passage of Scripture that was quite fascinating? I'll leave you with this, number 2. Follow the example of Jesus. You say, where in the world is that in this story? I'm glad you asked. Go back. Don't miss this. Don't put your Bibles up. Don't miss this. 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 7. Then they spoke to him and said, listen, if you will be a servant to this people today and will serve them, then they will serve you forever. Listen, come in here real close. The counsel these men gave him was to serve. Hey, you want to be great at school? Be a servant. You want to be the greatest ball player? Be a servant. You want to be the greatest band player? Be a servant. You want to be the smartest kid in the security? Be a servant. You want to be the best at your work as an engineer or as a flight attendant or whatever you do? Then be a servant. Serve those people with your life and giving it to them and serve them with everything that you have inside of you. You say, what in the world does that have to do with Jesus? Absolutely everything. What did we just do? We took the bread and we took the juice, and it reminded us of the words of Jesus in the book of Mark when he says these words. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So Rehoboam served them. One day there's going to be a servant leader who's going to be far greater than Rehoboam, far greater than any king the nation of Israel's ever had. There's going to be one who's going to come, who's going to serve, and he's going to serve to the extent that he's going to lay his life down for you and I. So when we take the bread and we take the juice, we're reminded that we are called to be servants and to serve people. The advice to Rehoboam? Serve. Be a servant and serve other people. The advice that you and I listen to, the people that we surround ourselves, will greatly impact where we go and what we do. May we surround ourselves with people who tell us, serve other people as a servant